Vice President Henderson.
Thank you, Regent Kiefer, and the rest of the committee for allowing us to present today. And I'll just start, as we talked about, there are 3 items. The first one is the first of a series of campus presentations that Chancellor Khosla will begin with, and then will be followed at the next meeting with UCLA. And we really wanted to focus, as you had encouraged us, to have the campus describe their efforts to engage with the local community to identify needs for public service and engagement, and I think that's what you'll hear from Chancellor Khosla, so I'll turn it over to him.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Speaker and committee members for this.
Be a little closer, maybe.
For this opportunity. Joining me today are 2 of our students, Michael Markulin to my right and Preston Hale to his right, and at the appropriate time, they will share with us their stories about how our strategy for outreach and impact has actually impacted them personally. So these are not typical stories, as in not every student has the same story, but every student has very similar stories as to how our outreach and impact is making a difference for the community. So I start with a framework, our framework for sustainable excellence, which describes our mission, which is to transform California and a diverse society by educating, generating, and disseminating knowledge and creative works and engaging in public service. And I underline public service because for the last 7 years now, as you heard Regent Lozano talk about this morning, we've been ranked #1 by Washington Monthly based on 3 criteria: research productivity, social mobility, upward mobility, and public service. And what we are talking about today is our strategy for our public service in the context of San Diego for today. What you're going to hear is an extremely thin sliver of what we are doing. We are doing more than, 500-700 programs in the community, making a difference at every member of the community, in every nook and corner. So I want to pick just 3 programs that we are doing that are personally important to me. So what we're going to talk about. So as you already know, so you saw our rankings. So our community outreach has expanded significantly ever since I got there. And the impetus for this was the creation of our first ever strategic plan. So at age 56, in 52 when I got there, we had never had a strategic plan. And we had to think about what is it we want to be when we grow up as a campus. And that strategic plan was the impetus to get the broader community involved, where we had more than 10,000 community members give us input, multiple modalities, town halls, focus groups, surveys, interviews, websites, social media. You can go down the list. I spent the first year and a half getting that input. Every member of our community had significant input in that. And the end result was our first ever strategic plan. And what I want to share with you now is what we heard in that planning process. So, one of the things we heard from across the board was we want our students to have access to a UC San Diego education. And as a new chancellor, I was wondering, here we are, a public university open to everybody. We admit a lot of people from our community. So what did people exactly mean by we want our students to have access to a UC San Diego education? And what I realized was that we at UC San Diego were in La Jolla, whereas a larger community, La Jolla is a very small part of the larger community. We were up on the mesa, the quote-unquote elite school, and the broader community is out there south of 8, Chula Vista, near Tijuana, and all these other areas where they thought they had no access to us. So I had to make sure that we built programs where this community thought that we were an integral part of who they are, and they are an integral part of who we are. One of the programs we built was the Chancellor's Associate Scholarship Program, and this program provides full-ride, loan-free education for low-income students from 4th and 5th quintile schools and community colleges. So we heard this morning Regent Perez talk about the $10,000 self-help. That is actually a very big impediment for most families. That in California, the median income is about $48,000 for a family of 4. So if you come from that family, $10,000 of self-help times 4 years is actually a really big number. Whether it's through work study, loans, I don't care. It's still a big number. And I figured that the way for us to deal with community outreach and impact was to get to bring that number down to 0. So that was this program, where what we did is if you were part of the UC's Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan and you got free tuition and your expected family contribution was 0, which means your family made less than $80,000 a year, then UC San Diego, then if you're part of selected high schools and community colleges, I would guarantee $10,000 of self-help would be erased in the form of scholarships, and you would go to UC San Diego literally loan-free for 4 years. And this program includes several high schools in San Diego. It includes several community colleges in our neighborhood. It includes several community organizations like Reality Changers. Reality Changers is an organization run by one of our alums, made up of about 300 or so neighborhood young kids who, if they were not in the Reality Changers program, I am told that they would either be in jail or they would be dead. I mean, they come from extremely low-income, high crime-ridden neighborhoods. They all have the same aspiration to lead a good life. They have the same aspiration to go be good human beings, but they have no role models. So Reality Changers is part of our program. San Diego City College is part of our program, and a whole bunch of other community colleges. We also have a program where, as part of this program, where if you are a registered member of a tribe in California, you go to UC San Diego loan-free for 4 years. So I personally am really excited about this. In the first year, we had 200 scholars. Last year, it was 400. My goal is to make it 800, and maybe even 1,000. It costs me about $10,000 per scholar, so you can see what it costs on a year-by-year basis. But it is an extremely impactful program that has really changed the lives of many, many